Mission Impossible Fallout crosses $500 million at the box office. Will Smith is going back to Bad Boys. And Kevin Spacey bombs at the box office. This and more on Movie Emporium's News of the Day. What's up, guys? Welcome to Movie Emporium News of the Day for August 20th, 2018, where we take stories from around the world of movies, break them down, and tell you about them one by one. If you like what you see, of course, always remember to rate, subscribe, check us out on YouTube, Audio Boom, Facebook, and Twitter, and as always, comment below if you like any of our stories. So our first news story is the box office, of course. And it was a quiet but interesting weekend at the box office, which this time of year is usually what happens. This is when the summer season winds down, so what we get is, basically the last dregs of the summer leading into the fall, which will end up concurring into Oscar season. But the first movie that was number one at the weekend was Crazy Rich Asians, which made about $35 million over its 5-day period of release, or $25 million for the weekend. Now, for a movie like this that deals with a particular minority cast, this is a pretty impressive amount of money that is taken in. For $35 million, which will end up making $100 million when everything's said and done. Congratulations to John M. Chu. Congratulations to the rest of the crew. They made made a good movie. I had a little bit of issues with it, but, congratulations to them for probably getting around $100 million by the time everything's said and done. And when it moves into China, it's going to do really well because it's a Chinese-based movie. So like I said, that's pretty awesome that it made about $35 million total, leading into $100 million. So with that, number two was The Meg, which made about $21.15 million, about estimated. It's up to about $83 million right now, which is awesome. It's probably going to gross about $100 million, probably up $300 or $400 million worldwide. Number three was Mile 22, which made about $13.6 million for the weekend. The movie's not great, but this is about what you would expect from a movie like this. I'm sure they wanted to be number one, but with Crazy Rich Asians, that was going to be impossible. So, Mark Wahlberg and Peter Berg didn't make a great movie, but, this is going to show that they still have a somewhat semblance of box office cred. So this movie will probably make about $50 million by the time it's said and done, which, isn't great, but, Peter Berg's movies don't ever really make a lot of money, even when big budget movies like Battleship bombed. So $50 to $55 million seems about right, and it'll probably be successful. It probably didn't cost that much to make. So, congratulations to the crew of the Mile 22. I hope you continue to make more movies. So, four was Mission Impossible Fallout, which made about $10.5 million. It's up to $180 million. I do have a story later on talking about its worldwide gross, but it's already on pace to pass Mission Impossible 2 as the highest grossing Mission Impossible movie, which is awesome. And, it's nice to see that Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise have become like the Leonardo DiCaprio, Martin Scorsese of action films. It's nice to see that the movies they're making are, in fact, like legit good action movies and not just movies trying to make money. They all try to make money, but not trying to dumb down the audience, which a lot of action films have done. So it's nice to see that it's on pace to make about $230 when it's everything said and done, which will be a new high for Mission Impossible. So congratulations to Christopher McQuarrie and Tom Cruise, and hopefully you continue to make more money. And for number five, we got Alpha, which also made about $10.5 million. Now, for a movie that was kind of misleading in its storytelling, it was thought to have been about a movie about a dog, and it's, this kid ends up being about this kid exploring who he needs to become, and he just inhabits a dog along the way. It did pretty well for a movie that's not in English, which is another misleading thing about the trailer. We all thought it was going to be in English, but no, it was subtitled in another dialect. And it seems to have done pretty average. I don't think it's definitely not going to make $100 million. It's probably going to do maybe $45 million. But, for a $51 million budget, it'll probably be $150 million worldwide. So, it won't make a lot of money. It's probably not going to be profitable, but, That's what you get what you expect when you kind of mismarket or mismanage the industry and what you think about the fan base. So, but just the rest of the box office, Christopher Robin came at $8 million for $66 million for the weekend. Black Klansman is now at $7 million for $23 million. I wish it would make more. Slenderman, we don't care about that. Hotel Transylvania made about $3.6 million. Is now at $153 million, which is a little below the second one. And Mamma Mia is at $3 million for $111 million, also below the first movie. So it was a pretty quiet weekend. The biggest news, of course, was Crazy Rich Asians making $25 million. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna gross $100 million by the time it's said and done, and it's gonna do real well overseas. So not the best of weekends, but not the worst of weekends. So like I said, congratulations to Crazy Rich Asians. Congratulations to Mission Impossible. Congratulations to any movie that is successful for this weekend. So that's it on the box office. So with our next news story, we'll go back to Mission Impossible Fallout. I already told you it's going to make about $230 million, somewhere around there when everything's said and done. In the international box office, it's actually grossed $500 million. Now, this isn't like the biggest news story in the world, and the fact that we always get like billion-dollar movies. But for a franchise like this to make $500 million is pretty impressive, because Tom Cruise, with all he's had, complaints and issues in the past, it's nice to see a movie franchise succeed. It's doing kind of like what Fast and the Furious did. Maybe not on that big of a scale, but Mission Impossible as a series has always been smart, always been exciting and action-filled. And it's nice to see that Fallout is getting some traction, is getting some love in this market, because Mission Impossible Fallout is probably one of my favorite action movies of this year in a long time, maybe since Logan. So it's nice to see that Tom Cruise and Christopher McQuarrie have crafted a movie that's worth its weight in gold. And it's nice to see that it's grossed over $500 million. It'll probably land somewhere maybe about 600, 650 when it's said and done. So that's pretty impressive. It just leaves the opportunity for a Mission Impossible 7. So I'm really excited. I'm really happy for them. Like I said, in the box office, take, congratulations to them, because they definitely deserve it. And I can't wait to see what Mission Impossible 7 does for the future. So, but with that, we'll move on to our next story. So I wanted to get into Blumhouse. Blumhouse, as everyone knows, is this really low-budget studio that has gained mass popularity for making very popular, profitable movies off really small budgets of like $5 million or less. They started out with like the Paranormal Activity movies, and they moved into stuff like Whiplash, Get Out, the upcoming Halloween, and they've created this empire, or Jason Blum has created this empire that is so successful that any major director, any major actor kind of wants to work with him, because with stuff like Get Out, when it gets into that political territory, or even Black Klansman or the upcoming Halloween, these movies are profitable because they're really good. And so there's this article that's talking about how Blumhouse wanted to try and gain the rights for Christine, which is a Stephen King book, which was made in the 80s with Keith Gordon and John Stockwell. A really good movie. It's directed by John Carpenter. And they also want to do the Blob. And it's interesting to see how Hollywood works in this aspect, because Blumhouse, you'd think, would be able to get any property they wanted because of how successful they are. I mean, Get Out made, I think, like $180 to $200 million or something like that, some crazy amount. And of course, they've had Oscar nominees with Whiplash and Get Out. And when you see stuff like this, and you see even them are still having trouble getting start having trouble getting films like that. They've been trying to get the Crow movie to try to produce that film, but they've been having struggles. That movie's been off and on, trying to get remade. And I always wonder why it's like this. It's always about money, it seems like, but it just seems like maybe people don't trust Blumhouse, or people do trust Blumhouse, but they don't want to trust them with these properties. And I think when Halloween comes out, if that movie's successful, it's just going to show that Blumhouse and Jason Blum know what they're doing. And I have a feeling, because, they have David Gordon Green and Danny McBride taking on this movie, and it's going to be a sequel to the original. And I think Jason Blum and Blumhouse should be able to get whatever property they want as long as they're not like killing people to get it. I mean, if they want to do Christine, why shouldn't they be able to do Christine? And I don't know. It's just a weird. It's so weird how the inner workings of Hollywood is. It's weird when you think about it. Because, for instance, we'll go back to like Star Wars. Nobody wanted Star Wars, but somehow it got made through Fox, and then everybody's like, "Oh, we all thought it was an interesting script." I'm like, "No, you obviously didn't, or you would have bought the script." And it's the same thing with Lord of the Rings. Peter Jackson wanted to do it just service, by making it 3 movies. And Miramax's like, "No, we're gonna make it 1 movie for 2 hours." I'm like, it just shows you that Hollywood sometimes doesn't get things right, and it shows. And like Blumhouse with this article should be able to get whatever they want, but it's the inner workings of Hollywood, and it makes no sense. I mean, a movie can make $1 billion and could not be considered profitable. Profitable, sorry. But that's what it is. So, but with our next news story, so Will Smith, he has like 3 projects he's balancing between. He's got Suicide Squad, he's got Bad Boys for Life, Bright 2, which are all in the pipeline to be filmed. And Suicide Squad was actually supposed to be the next film to be filmed. Well, DC being DC has put the project on hold. I don't know if they're doing it because they're scared. I don't know if they're doing it because they don't know what they want, which is probably what it's most likely to be. So, with Suicide Squad 2 getting delayed, we now have Bad Boys for Life finally getting the push up, and then Bright 2 being filmed right after. I don't really know how I feel about this movie because I enjoy Bad Boys 1. Bad Boys 2 is Bad Boys 2. It's over the top and excessive. But this movie has had so much issues with the script, with its directors. It's been in development hell for, I think Bad Boys 2 came out in 2004 or 6. It was some like god-awful long time ago. And I sometimes wonder if franchises really need to be reinvigorated like this. Like, they were always talking about Back to the Future being brought back, and they were always talking about, just different franchises being brought back. And then they have the Harry Potter spin-offs. It's like, maybe Bad Boys 2 should have just ended the way it did. And now we have Bad Boys for Life. And I know this is not the story. The story is more about Suicide Squad coming out later because DC doesn't know what they want to do. But when stuff like Bad Boys for Life is being made, it's just more of a cash grab than anything. And Bright 2 is because Bright 2 did well. So I can see a sequel for that. But, Will Smith, he's getting close to 50. Martin Lawrence, I think, is over 50. So this is like the Lethal Weapon 4 situation or the Lethal Weapon sequels they were going to make. I don't know. I'm not real excited for it. So it's going to get made whenever it comes out. Like I said, they're doing Top Gun 2, so what do I know, right? Yeah, so. But that's it with that story. Like I said, Suicide Squad 2 is delayed, so who knows if that's ever going to come out. But so Guardians of the Galaxy 3 got pushed back. The whole James Gunn situation, I don't know, it's a mess right now. Nobody knows what's going on with it. So what does that leave for the upcoming Marvel Cinematic Universe? Well, there's a story that got put out about the possibilities of what will be coming in the future. There's been stuff floated around like the all-female Avengers movie. There's the Black Widow movie that's definitely going to be filmed. And there's Doctor Strange 2. And there's all these movies being spun around. The only thing right now that's known is Spider-Man Far From Home, which is in the middle of filming. But according to reports, there will be a new Marvel movie starting to film next summer in June of 2019. And the rumor is it will be Black Widow. Now, I'm excited to see Black Widow, but is Black Widow the strongest character? I don't know. Is it really needed a movie? I think in essence of trying to keep the culture and trying to keep the gender neutrality and all that stuff, I think it works, and I think Scarlett Johansson's amazing as Black Widow, and the director they have, it's pretty awesome what they're going with. But I really want to see Doctor Strange 2. I don't know why they're waiting so long. Doctor Strange 1 was a pretty impressive movie, and Doctor Strange really played into Avengers Infinity War. And Benedict Cumberbatch is a really amazing actor, as well as Scott Derrickson and C. Robert Cargill as the writer and director. So what this means, who knows? Apparently they're going to wait till next year to release the actual schedule. They're doing this because they don't want to talk about what's in Avengers, the new Avengers movie that's coming out. So we'll have to see. We'll have to wait. Most likely it's going to be Black Widow, maybe Doctor Strange 2, Who knows? Nobody knows what Marvel's doing right now. This is the first time we really don't know outside of Spider-Man Far From Home. I'm guessing we're going to have something next year. And like I said, it was supposed to be Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but with James Gunn and his situation, we don't know anymore. So, but like I said, that's pretty much it on that news story. There's not much to go on outside of just something that's going to be start filming next year. So we'll see. Yeah. But our last news story is, so Mel Gibson's son, Milo Gibson, he starred in his recent movie Hacksaw Ridge. And he's kind of an up-and-coming actor. He hasn't done a lot, but because he has the credibility from his father, he's kind of been able to work his way up. And he's going to be in this movie called The Outpost. And The Outpost reads, and it's from the Green Rant. I just wanted to read the synopsis, but it's based on a CNN news correspondent, Jake Tapper's best-selling book, The Outpost, An Untold Story of American Valor, which tells the epic true story of 50 soldiers who battled a force of over 400 Taliban fighters in northeastern Afghanistan during Operation Enduring Freedom. Originally built to engage the locals in community development projects and help the spread of democracy, Outpost Keating faced a constant threat of being attacked by the Taliban, putting the U.S. Army soldiers stationed there at an unbelievable risk. When the brass finally decided to close the base, the Taliban found out and decided to make a statement. That's an interesting premise. It's being written by Eric Johnson and Paul Tamsey, who wrote The Fighter. It's being directed by Rod Lurie, if you've ever heard of The Contender, which is an amazing movie with Glenn Close. She was amazing in it. Very, very political, very, very suspenseful. This sounds interesting. The idea of people going against the Taliban and what the Taliban represent, and we have these American fighters and telling the story about how they have to, basically save themselves because of all this crap that's going on during an operation in, Afghanistan, which is already a mess to begin with. I find this interesting. I just find it interesting, and I think Milo Gibson is becoming an interesting actor to watch. Like I say, he hasn't done a lot of stuff, but if he does a movie like this could be a breakout role for him. And with Rod Lurie behind the camera, I mean, it could be really interesting. He did The Last Castle, so that wasn't great, but I'm really interested to see how this story's going to play out, if they're going to do something like in 13 Hours, or they're going to do something like a Jarhead. It's just interesting to see. I'm interested by it. I'm always interested to see these war films. For instance, Zero Dark 30, which talked about the lead up to Osama bin Laden. They're not always like the most fun movies to watch, but they do try to be real and try to be interesting and try to be, just patriotic and just telling these interesting stories that you don't ever hear about. A lot of these movies you don't hear about, or a lot of these, stories you don't hear about until they become movies. And I just wish they would do this more, and they don't. But, The Outpost sounds interesting. I can't wait to see it, probably 2019 maybe. So, like I said, it's an interesting story to read about, and an interesting story to hear about. So I'm looking forward to it, and good luck to them in the filming of this movie. But with that, guys, that's pretty much it. It was a very light news day. I was trying to skim for stories, but as always on a Monday, there's not always a ton of stories. But what I found interesting. So as always, if you like what you see, remember to rate, subscribe, check out YouTube, Facebook, Audio Boom, Twitter. Comment below, like if any of these, like I said before, if any of these stories interest you, comment below and tell us what you think about them, because I would definitely like a conversation to go through with it. But as always, also email us at nlapola113@gmail.com. But with that, we'll go ahead and see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see you guys later. Peace.